Let's start up north in Egypt. The legislature over there has approved a 3-month-long state of emergency after at least 44 people were killed in twin bomb attacks on Sunday. The state of emergency came into effect as of 1 p.m. local time on Monday. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has also ordered troops to be deployed to assist police in securing key sites. This emergency decree will give the security forces some pretty wide-ranging powers. Now, ending martial law was one of the demands of the popular unrest that ousted the former President Hosni Mubarak in 2011. Let's get the latest details now from Yasser Hakim. He joins us now live from Cairo. Yasser, walk us through the terms of the state of emergency. What can and cannot be done?
Now, of course, there's a difference between the martial law and the state of emergency, Ramas. Just to make it clear, the martial law was actually very unpopular, and like you said, is one of the reasons why Mohamed Morsi was ousted from power. But the state of emergency gives more authority to the security forces to, for example, take on any places where they feel that, control any place they feel that can be a threat to safety. They can arrest any suspects for investigation. They can control the media, and especially that in the last few years there has been an increase in the media outlets that promote extremist thought and violence and terrorism. And they are funded by foreign elements that support and fund the terrorist groups, as well as at some areas and sometimes it would it has the power to take a curfew in some areas, but it has not been announced that there will be any curfew, at least in the main cities, and that it will not be used extensively. But it will give more leverage to also monitor all kinds of transactions, whether in the bank transactions or in the emails, letters, social media, to make sure that they can control also how the infiltration of extremists through these media outlets and social media in particular.
Indeed. So let's talk about that in a little more detail with respect to our viewers there, who of course are businessmen. How will this 3-month state of emergency, that's a pretty long period of time, how will it affect normal trading in Egypt? Are there vibrant night markets, for example, that could be affected by this?
Now, as we understand, until now, there will not be any curfew timings or closing down of or changing of times at all. We haven't heard of it until now. So things go as normal. If we talk about foreign investments, it will not affect because it's only 3 months and we're still waiting for the new investment law to be ratified, and that law is the one that will, on its basis, we will see investments coming in or not. So in the next 3 months, we will not be affected so much as in investments that Egypt need badly, or in trade if things stay as they are. For some businessmen I talk to, they tell me it's good that it makes us feel more secure, that we know there's security measures that will try to retain stability in the country, or at least to prevent any new attacks as much as possible. Obviously, terrorist attacks, you cannot really stop it completely anywhere in the world, especially if it's by individuals. But so far, things are not looking bad on the economic side of trade, but it could be clear in the next few days or weeks.
Indeed. One last question for you guys. After the December bombing of the Coptic cathedral in Cairo, in which 25 people died, President Sisi came out and said, look, we'll provide much better security. But given the events over the weekend, clearly that hasn't happened. What went wrong here?
It's really very hard to stop, like I said, a terrorist from it happens everywhere. They can use bombs, they can use, like you've seen in the UK, in London, they use the car and knives. In France, machine guns. Whatever they have with them, they will use, especially if they're not in big numbers. But we have to take relatively also that the number of attacks in the last a year or so is much less than 2013, 2014, 15. Yes, there is casualties. Yes, there are very tragic incidents. But if we try to compare with the previous years, there is a huge improvement. But obviously, there is still more to be done. And the president himself said it's a costly issue. It will take time, and we will face more losses. He said there will be losses, and we have to be strong and ready to accept that until we manage to eradicate terrorism. And I'll refer you to an interview that took place with the head of ISIL in northern Sinai, and it was published in one of the ISIL-related papers. It's called the Neba, and he said that we are losing a lot in Egypt, and we have been losing a lot, and that what experts are saying is what's happening now is that they're trying to show that they are still there. These attacks by individuals is trying to prove that they are still on the ground, and to try to give a psychological boost to their elements, the other members, after the losses in northern Sinai because of the crackdown by the Egyptian army that has incurred a lot of losses on the terrorists there. So they're trying to make it more effective by going into the cities, having these terrorist acts, which are usually bombs, suicide bombs, to try to show that they are still on the ground, they're still in action.
Indeed. We'll have to leave it there for the time being. Thank you for the update. That's Yasser Kim, of course, live in Cairo. He and the team will keep a very close eye on developments, of course, in the North African states.